Good morning and welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Claudia Hernandez, HAR Director of Video Services, and I'm filling in for Christina Schaefer this morning. Today we have a familiar face on the program, HAR Safety Task Force Chair and Real Estate Instructor, Mike Wong. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Claudia.
Of course. Thank you for being here. I know our members are excited to hear what you have to say about safety. So let's go ahead and get started. I mentioned in your title that you are the chair of the HAR Safety Task Force. So tell us, what is the actual goal of the task force?
At HAR, member safety is our priority. So our goal is to educate, provide members with tools, training, and resources while we assess safety risk and fraud trends to alert members of what's happening in our local industry. We want to be comprehensive because of all the parts of the real estate industry. So, we look at things like personal safety for agents, cybersecurity and fraud, as well as consumer safety. And I really want to thank the HAR staff and members of the task force as we continue to just grow and evolve. I'm grateful and excited about many of the people that we get to work with on the task force and people wanting to come on and join and add their talent to what we're seeing out there. So it's going to be a great little committee, and we'll keep it going forward.
That's great. And, it's so important because realtors are specifically targeted for different crimes and they have to watch out and be safe. So, why do you find it is that realtors and their clients are targeted specifically?
The reality is realtors are easy targets. They hold open houses, allowing complete strangers to walk in, or they'll go and meet a complete stranger to walk a property they may not have personally toured before, may not know the floor plan before. So the people that you interact with and the people that you meet with, you need to vet them before you actually do. Consumers, real estate purchases are generally the largest financial transactions people make. So that amount of money attracts criminals. And obviously, wire fraud and cybersecurity have been a big issue. We deal with such large transaction amounts that it's going to attract criminals. Um, Clients are subject to wire fraud. There's now title fraud going on. There's hacking and cybersecurity threats. You get email spoofing, and the scams are getting more and more sophisticated. And our job as agents is to protect them.
Right. Yeah, and we see, especially with realtors, their faces are on billboards and on your business card and on your car, and your phone number is everywhere. So it's very you're very public and seen
Yes.
by the clients that are out on the road. So, what safety threats are you seeing locally? In the Houston area right now.
You made a great point about, our photos and our phone numbers and everything everywhere, even our social media. We're just really accessible as agents, right? Our job is customer service. And so we have to learn how to balance that. I think, threats in Houston, um, thankfully, I haven't heard too much about personal security threats or personal safety threats locally. I do see our members posting still about suspicious callers, and they're taking advantage of Forar, which is one of the services we offer to HR members. They're still getting at some inappropriate calls and text messages, some of the stuff we typically deal with, but nothing that seems like a red alert. We have to notify all members about. Um, I know a few agents that have encountered squatters in their listings, and I think Texas legislation is taking a look at that and seeing how we can kind of work through that a little bit easier. But I look at HER. I think we've done a great job providing tools and training for our members so that they've been able to recognize risk quickly and avoid situations and things that they weren't comfortable with in the beginning. And the forewarn tool has been amazing. I see a lot of feedback on that where people are just now it's a habit where they're running numbers and emails to vet these callers and contacts.
Right. And even I think even as a regular consumer, I know I do this. I get a phone call and I'll look up the phone number if it's somebody I
Yeah.
don't know, or if they didn't leave a voicemail, or if someone reaches out to me in a text or a Facebook message, I look up to see who
Mhm.
they are. So we just have to always be proactive with those things. And Forewarn is just such a great tool for that. So please remember that if you have any questions for Mike, please type them into the comments section and we will get them as soon as possible. He's bringing us all of this great information about safety today. So, Mike, let's go ahead and talk about what kind of scams are you seeing that are not life-threatening. So online, social media, things like that, wire fraud. What are you seeing locally?
Locally, I think my YouTube algorithm is set for me to look for scams. I hope they don't think I'm up to anything, but I get local news stories, and so Channel Two is picked up on rental scams that are
Mm.
happening as well, and it's just basically, it's any home, it's put on Craigslist or it's put online, Facebook Marketplace, and it's actually a homeowner living in that home, and it's being marketed for lease, and you send your deposit online, you go knock on the door, and there's somebody there, and they say, "No, I own this home. It's never been on the market." The exterior photos are correct, but the interior photos aren't. Um, so that thing, rental scams never go away, and that's why you need to use a realtor to kind of vet some of these. Um, I think this year I did see a rise in title fraud or deed scams where properties and are fraudulently deeded over to a different owner. We saw that in the past with vacant lot listings and things like that, but now we're seeing it on actual properties. So I think criminals are getting bolder. Like I said, the dollar amounts are going up on these transactions, and they'll take whatever they can get out of it, even if they disappear with some sort of deposit or anything, whether it's a rental or a sale. Um, there's also email scams. We're going through a couple right now where I don't know where they're leading. I've got a couple emails on some listings I have, and they're wanting to make cash offers. They don't want to engage in a video call or a phone call or meet in person. They say they're out of the country, they're a foreign buyer. We've written the offer for them and sent it their way. We've asked for proof of funds. They provided it all. So we'll see where it ends up. It's very fishy.
Yeah.
But we have to vet them for our sellers. I mean, if they turn into a deal, then great. But I kind of want to see what their end game is.
Right, right. Yeah, and what is the title of the class that you'll be teaching, which we'll talk about later, is that, safety has no asking price. So if it turns out to be
Exactly.
a scam, it's great that you vetted them, even if it turns out to be an offer, then great. But if not, then was it worth going through all of that? So it's great that
Exactly.
it's like Forewarn do that. And so we have a couple comments and questions coming in. So Donna Duran Manley, I hope I pronounced that correctly, says, I've noticed when I use Forewarn that there are some agents with criminal records. I even saw one that had a felony. How accurate is Forewarn?
I believe the statistics are about 80% on phone numbers and a little bit higher on the emails. I don't know the actual statistics, but it's pretty good. Now, it's not going to pick up every single phone number just because people are able to, create these. They can get an app and create, 10 different phone numbers to call from that don't exist. But Forewarn will tie to a phone number even if it's transferred. And if you take over somebody's number, their record may appear on your Forewarn record. So it's not absolutely perfect, but it's the best tool available out there, and that's why we chose to partner with it.
Right. Okay, great. And Osmond Valley asks, can we carry a gun and what would happen if there is an accident?
I can talk about that for hours. I will say, carrying a gun's a personal choice, right? And you have to be comfortable with it. You have to be trained with it. But you asked a very good question. What happens if there's an accident?
Right.
You are fully liable for an accident. If you injure or kill somebody, you're liable for that. As you're liable for that possibly criminally. You're liable for that civilly as well. And so you want to understand, obviously you want to be trained with whatever you choose, whether it's a gun, pepper spray, martial arts. People choose a lot of different techniques to defend themselves. You want to be trained. You want to stay up to date and current. If you're carrying a firearm, you want to take definitely a concealed handgun class. You want to understand the liabilities behind it. You want to practice with it, make sure it's well maintained. So if you ever do need that in an emergency, you can kind of know how you're going to react. You can kind of know your liabilities, and you practice with it. Know you can depend on it.
Right. And it's a big responsibility. If you're going to carry something around like that, then you should, be ready be prepared to keep it safe and not just leave it in your car and things like that, because you never know what could happen. So
Yeah.
let's go on. Please keep leaving your questions in the comments and we'll get to them when we can. So let's move on to a question about some common misconceptions. So what are some common misconceptions that you hear regarding realtor safety?
The big one, and I'm kind of guilty of it, is it won't happen to me, right?
Oh,
And so that's what we all think. We think that, hey, we're in such a big city, we're careful, we look around, and we're aware of things. But looking at a 2022 interview with the NAR Safety Advisory Committee chair, they said that over 60,000 realtors have been a victim of an assault, rape, robbery, or murder. Houston has just over 49,000 members. So NAR, that 60,000, only represents just 4% of the membership, which is really low, but 60,000 would cover all of us in Houston. And that 4% is only members that have actually reported to NAR. We know a lot happens that goes unreported. We know a lot happens where people they don't know who to call, right? We don't want people to make the mistake of being in a very, very critical or an emergency situation. We don't want you to call HAR first. We want you to call 911 or the police first and get to safety. Often, most people, that should be your priority. But let us know what's happening at HAR so we can let all of our members know if there's a threat out there.
right. And sometimes depending on who was scammed, they're embarrassed to admit that they were, so they won't report it. So those numbers could be a little lower.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, um, you know, NAR releases a member safety survey each year, and they have one for residential and commercial, and they're both pretty close. The commercial reports are a little bit higher of experiences, so it makes me a little bit nervous because I practice commercial. But 2023, it reports 73% of respondents experienced a situation that made them fear for their personal safety or safety of their personal information. Now, if you look in your email, you'll get that survey. And I wasn't paying attention until I got more involved in safety and I started responding. I don't, I'd hate to say those numbers are skewed because people are looking for that report, but I think people are hopefully becoming more conscious and aware of things out there, and they're reporting when they run into things. 29% said that they've received a threatening or inappropriate call. 26% felt threatened during a showing, and 25% felt threatened during an open house. And so, things happen out there. We just got to be conscious of what's around us, who we're encountering, and we have to have a plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Always be alert, no matter where you are. So we have some more
Exactly.
comments coming in and questions. Again, thank you, Mike, for being here and sharing all of these tips with us. So Erica Hernandez says, how can we protect ourselves from the illegal deed of properties? How do people find out that their property was legally deeded? And what do you do immediately after it happens? Very important question.
That may be a future Member Focus Monday topic. I've kind of heard different things. We had an incident recently in Houston where 6 properties were deeded to one owner fraudulently. The county caught onto it, and the news caught onto it, and they reversed it pretty quickly. I don't think it would have happened so quickly if the news was involved. I think I've heard other people say they spent $15,000 to $30,000 in attorney fees, and then it's taken a year. So I think the news media had a lot to do with getting that flipped quickly. I know there's services out there called Title Lock. I haven't looked into it, and it gets kind of expensive if you're an investor and you have multiple properties. But that may be something that we look at on a legislative level as well as these things pick up with squatters, title fraud, and things like that. We've got to look at a way to notify consumers. And so, if your property is not on the market, definitely you start getting phone calls, you start getting people knocking on your door asking to look at your home, then something's going on. That may be a time to call your agent or call the title company, ask them to see if they can help you figure out what's going on.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for that. And
Mhm.
Lydia Beza asks, do we need a license to carry a gun?
In Texas, you don't. Okay, you have Texas has changed the law a few years ago where you don't need a license to carry, but we recommend you do get a license. With the license, you just have better training. You're aware of more of the laws, and of course, you're aware of the liabilities of what happens. Just think if you're ever in a situation and you use your gun and you hit the person you intend to hit, but there's also somebody behind them that you hit. That was an innocent civilian. I believe that happened at an ATM robbery a couple years ago, where a little girl was killed. She was just in the background with her family in a car. Somebody was being robbed at an ATM. They fired several shots at the robber. A little girl was killed. That person is civilly responsible. They've been sued civilly and they've lost. And so, just think of things like that when you're considering a handgun. Just be responsible, just be well trained, and make sure you're aware of current laws.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Thank you. So let's move on to the next question. What are your top 5 tips for Houston area realtors regarding realtor safety?
Top 5 tips. Well, number one, verify your prospect and insist on meeting in a public place the first time. Ask them for a meeting at your office or with your lender to pre-qualify with their information. A lender pre-qualification is probably the best type of meeting because you find out if they're serious. You find out all their information from the lender. You can be working quickly in the background on your laptop. You can run them through Forewarn, or you can Google them and vet them as well. And of course, I mentioned Forewarn. You can use that tool. You can look for their social media profile, get an idea of what they look like, what they post. Verify, you can look on LinkedIn and verify where they work. You can Google their phone numbers. You can Google their emails. You can Google their names and see just what pops up. Next, you need to have a plan. We're in hurricane season. We've got a tropical depression forming. So last night I filled up gas and things like that because I'm just one of those planners. But you think about common things like that. But do you have an escape plan in an emergency? We have an evacuation plan. But do you know the floor plan of that house that you're touring? If something goes wrong, do you know how to get out through a back door? And where does that back door lead to? What side of the house is the gate on? When you run out of that gate, what does that lead to? Is there a dog in the yard? Just kind of know that as you're showing these houses of other ways to get out. Don't get blocked in by parking your car in the driveway. Don't get blocked into a closet or a bathroom with no exit. And do you keep your car keys in your hand? The good thing is your car key has that little panic button where you can set off your alarm, or do you drop it in your purse? And if you run out the door, is your purse with you, and are you digging through your purse? So keep your car keys on you, have an escape plan. Do you have an emergency contact that you can signal if something's wrong? Right? There's no apps that can track you. There's no panic button apps that alert you, that send an alert of your location to your emergency contacts. I think, some people say, well, I have a code word, and, you've always learned to use a code word, but I want to warn everybody about the red folder or red file code word. That one's been around so long. They teach it on YouTube, and all the criminals are watching YouTube to learn how to be a better criminal, right? And so the last decade or so, we've talked about the red file, the red folder. Change to something else. I don't want to. I know this will be on social media, so I'm not going to give away my secret code words, but I'll tell you a great one in my class. If you take my class, one of my co-instructors, she has a great script that she can call her dad. Her dad immediately knows once she says a certain thing, she immediately knows something's wrong. She immediately says who she's with and the address she's at, and she's running 10 minutes late, which lets her dad know he has about 10 minutes to get there. So there's a lot of different things you can do to let people know without using that red file or red envelope anymore.
Change the color or something.
Exactly. Number 3, I would say don't be distracted by your phone. We're so busy and on the go that we're always looking at text messages, or we're looking at emails, or we're calling people to update them on files. And so, when you're walking through parking lots or you're meeting strangers, try not to stare at your phone, because when you look at a phone, you're focused on, a little 5-inch screen in your hand, and the world's happening all around you in 360 degrees. It's just too easy for somebody to sneak up on you in a blind spot, or somebody will walk up to you if you're in a distracting call and take advantage of you. Um, Number four, I would say, plan your open houses. Invite a partner like a lender to be there or a new agent. Don't let people know that you're alone at an open house. Don't walk ahead of your visitors with your back to them. Let them walk through the house. Avoid those dead ends like closets and bathrooms. And again, have your emergency escape plan. Know that if somebody comes in and you don't feel comfortable, have a way to get out of there. Um, look around the house at things that can be either a weapon against you or an obstacle and things like that. Just kind of plan your route. If it's an obstacle to you, it's going to be an obstacle to a criminal. And we mentioned a class. When I teach my safety class inside of a builder model home, it's one of my favorite places to teach because it's where we actually do a majority of our work. And I will talk about destroying that builder model home. If somebody comes at me, I'll flip the couch over, I'll knock down the shelf, I'll throw a lamp. And the builders are looking at me like, this guy's teaching these people to destroy a home. And I'm thinking, well, I've got to survive, right? I'm going to use whatever's necessary to survive or get away. And so,
Right.
the final one is criminals are getting sophisticated. We see rental scams, we see wire fraud, we see bank chuggings where multiple cars are following you and taking turns after you leave a bank. There's hacking, there's fake documents, there's fake identities, there's title frauds, and so everything evolves, including real estate. We're going through a big evolution right now, so just stay in touch and stay aware and updated of what's going on. So you can save yourself and your clients some headaches.
Yeah, those are all really great tips. And the model home, those pieces of furniture are replaceable, right?
Exactly.
Same. You can replace a lamp. That's okay. So we have a question coming in from YouTube. Homes with Henna. What is the correct way to verify if the seller is the rightful owner of the listing, especially when the seller is not someone you have known?
The best you can. You want to check the title. You want to see what appropriate documents they have. You want to check their ID, maybe if they have an expired ID with that address on it. Now with just fake documents, it's hard to absolutely vet it, but check public records, check documents that you can vet without them being involved. One thing you can do is ask for their current employer, right? And call HAR and say, do you have a record of the past addresses? If HAR will give that to you, and just say you're trying to verify, work history and past addresses, things like that. So you have to do the best you can with information you can find, just because right now a lot of criminals are just providing
And we may have lost Mike's audio here. Mike, can you hear me? All right, let's double check and see. And just remember to keep leaving your comments here while we get Mike back on. We're going to go ahead and keep mention the classes and educational opportunities that are available, and we will post those links in the comment in the comment section for Mike's upcoming classes as well. So, Mike, can we hear you now? No, Mike, your audio is still off. So we'll have somebody post those links and make sure that you can sign up for those classes. Can we hear Mike? Bear with us just a moment while we get Mike back on, and he can keep answering some questions about. It says that you've muted yourself, Mike. Maybe there's right on the screen with a little microphone. Let's try that. Yes. Thank you for your patience, for waiting while we get Mike back on. Can we hear you, Mike? No. No. Maybe the headphones? All right. No, we still don't have sound. It still says that you've muted yourself. So we're gonna wait to see if we can get Mike back on. Go ahead and try and chat again. No, we still can't hear you. Okay. Hold on, everybody, while we wait to see if we can get this back up and running. Let's try again. Can we hear you, Mike? No, I see you mouthing, but no sound. I see him clicking mute and unmute, but not sure what happened. Okay, we're waiting to see if we can get this sound back up again. So just remember, everybody, that we have those two different apps and platforms that HAR has offered, Forewarn and Safe Showings. Like Mike mentioned, that Forewarn you can use to do quick background checks and phone numbers on potential clients. Safe Showings is an external app that we also offer that you could use and is available to HAR members. So let's see if we can hear him. All right. Mike, can we hear you? Nope, we still can't hear Mike. Okay. He has just become the strong silent type, says Lisa Jacobs. He just had so much information. The mic couldn't handle it. All right. So we might, let's see. Still going to double check. I will say that while we try and still get Mike back on and, just keep trying that audio, that I did sit in on one of Mike's safety classes, and it was extremely entertaining. You get to see different tools and different equipment that you could use to protect yourself. It was in person. It was here at HAR Central, and there were a lot of interactions and a lot of stories with the other members that were in the class. So one person had a story and how they protected themselves, and the other person had another story and how that ended up. So it's a really great way to interact with other members and network and just get ideas from each other, because your safety is our priority, and we just want to make sure that you're out safe, being safe out, whether it be in your car or showing homes or at an open house. So we highly recommend taking those classes. I know that it looks like Juana Almeida will be looking into the safety classes, so hopefully she'll be in the next one. And let's double check to see if we can hear Mike at all. Hello? I think he's frozen now. He's unmuted, but we have a worse and leave. All right, so Mike, maybe we'll have you step out and then come back if you can. All right, looks like Mike has stepped out for a minute, and we're going to see if he can come back. But while we're waiting, we'll go ahead and promote next week's Member Focus Monday, which is going to be Shelly Scanlon and Larry Brooks. And they're going to tell you everything about HAR Engage Conference. So they are the co-chairs this year for the HAR Engage Committee. And they're going to come on and talk to you about the speakers and talk to you about the schedule, the agenda, what to expect, all the great networking opportunities. So, of course, if you want more information about that, you can visit har.com/engage. And we're putting out promos, pretty regularly. We created a lot of fun videos to promote the event. And the price did just go up after August 31st. There was a early bird sale, but now that we're in September, you want to make sure to get your tickets because it did sell out last year. So you want to make sure to get your tickets and you don't miss out on all these great speakers. You're going to hear from HAR staff members like Bob Hale. I'll be there speaking as well. And so Shelly Scanlon and Larry Brooks will come on next week to talk more about what to expect. All right, now we've got Mike back. Let's see if we can hear him. We cannot. Oh no. All right. Nope. We're checking to see if we can get him back on. So I hope that so far you all have learned quite a bit about how to stay safe out while you are practicing real estate, making sure that when you're about to do an open house, you check the property, check the back doors, the gates, you walk through before you have somebody come in. So these are all really great safety tips that Mike has given us, and hopefully you all are taking notes. All right. And so we're going to check to see if we can get him back on. We've got our technical team in the back trying to see if he can log on another way and get back to these questions and all this great information that he is giving you. Okay. All right, and keep adding those comments and questions in the comment section, because if we don't get to them during this live, then we can get to them after. And I know we are streaming both on YouTube and on Facebook, so go ahead and leave those comments. I attend the Engage event. I highly recommend it. Thank you, Juana. She's leaving a comment about Engage. Again, that's going to be the Member Focus Monday live interview next week. So that's our biggest HR conference of the year. So it's definitely highly recommended. Mary Angie Cabriles has also posted that we have a cybersecurity webinar tomorrow at 12 p.m. So right at lunchtime, go ahead and grab your lunch and do the webinar. She has shared the link in the comment section, so go ahead and register, sign up. For our HAR webinars, you are not on camera. You are just, it's webinar style. So you're on mute and you're off camera and you're just hearing the presenter give their information. So go ahead and register for that. Like I said, have your lunch and watch this cybersecurity webinar. Cybersecurity is such a big deal, especially with our members. And we've got Mike back on his phone.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. So I had to join from my phone. Apparently my computer's fighting with me. Wouldn't it be ironic if we got hacked or my computer got hacked during a safety interview?
Okay, well, so let's go. We're ready to go then, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we had just finished talking about the top tips, and I was about to ask you, which I kind of embellished a little bit about your class, what other educational opportunities there are available to our members.
Yes, so definitely check out the HAR education calendar. Rita's lined up some really good classes this year with Dragon's Den Self-Defense Academy, with a variety of classes around town. And, there's a couple that I'm interested in taking just because I hope they never happen, but there's a class about carjackings. And, you think in your mind, what would I do in the situation? And it may not always be the best thing of what you think. So it's good to go to these classes and hear other experiences. Thanks for talking about my class a little bit. My class is actually a 2-hour CE, and I'm going to switch it back to 3 hours. And the reason why is because I like for people to share their experiences in that class. And with 2 hours, I'm just covering material. But when people share their experiences, we can kind of walk through what would we all do in those situations. I think a common reaction is most people freeze. It's something that it's not going to be easy to overcome. I freeze sometimes. It's a normal reaction. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you've thought the process through, if you've heard the scenario before, you begin to think and process a little bit quickly of how to get unfrozen and get moving again. So, definitely take those classes. There's a lot of different topics covered. They're going to be in different places around town. You mentioned the cybersecurity class coming up. That's a great one. I'm going to actually run some sort of virus scan on my computer just to make sure now of what took me out. But yeah, there's definitely some great opportunities for education out there this month and next month as well.
All those keywords in there that we were talking about, it just filtered into your computer. So while we were getting you back up and running, and I hope that a lot of our viewers are still sticking around because we still have some information to share, we do have some questions. So Lydia Beza asks, can we ask for a copy of the customer ID?
You should. Now, one thing I'm going to say, if you ask one person for ID, you have to ask everybody, including family, including friends, including past clients, because you want your files to be all consistent. If somebody makes any type of discrimination complaint against you and you've only asked them, then you possibly discriminated. So you want to make sure that if you've asked for IDs, it's your policy for everybody to do so.
Yeah, right. And Teresa Hill actually on our executive committee said that exact same thing. She said, I strongly suggest to have the same requirements from each client. In other words, don't ask one client for an ID, but don't ask one client and not the other. So definitely want to keep it fair. And
Yeah.
then Demetria Walker says, what, if any, is there a difference between forewarn and safe showings? I kind of mentioned that while you were offline. So can you give us a little detail about that?
I'm sorry, the difference between forewarn and
Safe showings.
safe showings. So safe showings is a product that we have through HAR, right? And safe showings allows you to input your schedule. It allows you to record that schedule and share it with somebody if let them know your route, where you're going to be at what certain times. Forewarn is to identify the person you're going to meet with. Safe showings allows you to upload a photo of them once you meet them, but you want to know who you're meeting with before you meet them. And your first step would be forewarn. There's actually an app on your phone for forewarn as well, which will make vetting those incoming calls a little bit easier as well.
Okay, that's great. All right, and those both are tools that are offered through HR, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, and MJ Barreda asks, when you ask for ID, do you take a photo or just write down the info?
Um, Best practices, you should take a photo, but you're also responsible for the safe storage of that ID, right? So if you do keep it on file, make sure that you're handling it responsibly. You keep that in a locked cabinet. It's not just on your desk for anybody to walk in and pick up or things like that. So you have a responsibility when you do get personal information to keep it safe and secure. If you do that, best practice is to stick it in your file, keep it safe and secure. Don't leave it laying out or on your desk or in your car to get taken by somebody who thinks there's something important in there.
Right. That's great. Great information. And so, as far as any other information that you wanted to share with us, what would you say realtors, what do you want them to remember most about this conversation? They only remember one thing.
If you had to remember one thing, it doesn't matter if you're working in real estate, if you're out grocery shopping, if you're dropping your kids off, or you're picking your kids up, picking them up from school, you're at the mall or somewhere. Just be aware of what's going on around you. We call it situational awareness, right? And it's just knowing people within your proximity. It's knowing people out of place. It's knowing people following you. It's knowing people are watching you. Just knowing what's going on around you. And that doesn't just apply to us. It applies to our family members, applies to our kids. The world is changed out there. If you see the news every day, it's not the best place that it was anymore. So we just have to be more careful. Right. And I think the more careful we are, we can absolutely avoid a lot of bad situations just because we're more careful. We recognize things. It's like we used to say a few years ago when things are really bad. If you see something, say something. Keep that in mind. Right. Let us know if you see something out there, anything happening with your listings, any type of emails or any type of threats or any type of things you're seeing. Let us know at HAR. Safety at har.com, so we can get an idea of what's happening, if it's trending to multiple members and it's something we need to let everybody know about, or if it's something we need to monitor, right? But yeah, definitely just be aware of what's going on around you.
Okay. And before we close, there are a couple more comments that I wanted to send your way. Tiffany asks, what is a good response for an objection for the ID?
Um, it's
That's a tough one.
there. No, it's not tough. I mean, if they're looking to rent, they're going to have to provide an ID to the landlord with their application, correct? And so we're just asking for that up front. If they're looking to buy, we're going to need their identification for the lender as well.
Right.
When you go to test drive a car, you're asked for an ID or you're asked for a driver's license. And so, try to, if you're going to do it, just make a habit of it. I think people who object, ask them why they're objecting to that. Is it a legitimate reason, or are they just objecting just because, If they're afraid of you getting their contact information or something like that, let them know. I would like for you to be a client. I would like transparency. I'm careful about my safety, and I follow a very strict policy, and that may be one of your strict policies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, and then Holmes with Henna asks, how can we verify the ID to make sure it is valid and not a fraudulent document?
Now that's the hard one, right?
Okay.
We're obviously all familiar with Texas IDs because we're from here.
Yeah.
Um, we I've seen some really good fake IDs, and I couldn't tell because they were from out of state. They were from like Tennessee and Arkansas and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually on a rental house with a squatter. Um, the house was leased under one name, and the people inside were different. When we actually called a sheriff, and they ID'd, we gave them the ID from the application that was filed, and the ID belonged to like a 76-year-old dead guy in Dallas, and the ID was from Tennessee with the name and everything correct. So it's getting harder. I really don't know the answer to that, other than use additional sources, right? Use that social media, look up that person, make sure. I know there's whitepages.com is another website, but Forewarn's another website. Get the phone number, get their email, ask for more information so you can vet them, see if the age matches. And for Warren, I believe it has past addresses. See if any of those past addresses matches that ID, and just Google that address online on the ID as well. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all great tips. Now, last one here. Clinton asks, can we get an LTC class for some realtors?
We can. There's plenty of classes around, and what we're doing right now is my class is underwritten by a company called U.S. Law Shield. They also teach LTC classes as well, and so I can coordinate with them for those interested. We can create a private class for realtors. We can create a ladies only class. We can create a first time handgun user class. We want to make sure that you're comfortable in a class with your skill or your level of comfort, right? We don't want to throw you into a full-blown handgun training, tactical training class if you've never shot before. We want to create a class that's to your comfort level because, honestly, if you're considering carrying a handgun and you've never used one before, you're not comfortable with it, when it comes time in an emergency situation, you're under so much stress and so much pressure that your reaction is going to be different. Your comfort level is going to be different. Your nerves are going to react differently. Your accuracy is going to be different. Your timing is going to be different. Your aim is going to be different. And so we want to make sure that you train well. We want to make sure the whole time because, in reality, some people aren't comfortable. They're not going to grab the handgun first. They're going to grab something else. So whatever you grab, we want you to be comfortable with. The other option I hear often is pepper spray or mace. Keep in mind, if you use pepper spray or mace inside of a home, do you have to run through that spray to escape? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there a draft that's going to push that pepper spray towards you and incapacitate you as well with the person that's trying to get you? One thing I talk about in my class also is your pepper spray expired. A lot of police officers carry expired pepper spray. They just don't realize it. They stick it in their belt. They never use it. They never used it, and then 3 or 4 years later, they look at it or they need it, and it won't discharge because it's an aerosol propellant that's expired, and the aerosol's kind of lost its strength. Another thing on pepper spray is there's different sizes and there's different grades. One thing I like to do in class is just take a quick survey. What do you carry? And, you have some people that choose to carry a handgun. You have some people that choose to carry pepper spray. Some people choose martial arts. I ask everybody to put their pepper spray on their desk so we don't have any accidental discharges. But we walk through and we look at that. Is it expired? We see some pepper spray that's like a perfume bottle sample, which is maybe like the
Oh,
size of a pen cap.
yeah.
And does that have enough propellant to
Right.
discharge and hit somebody, 10 feet away, or do you have to be 2 feet away from them? And so think about, the distance you need, the propellant in there, and what you're choosing to use.
Yeah, great. Those are all great tips. And we do have a few more questions we want to get to. So Osman asks, how about if they ask for our ID and our home address? How do you respond to that?
You don't want to give away your personal address, right? But you can give them most realtors, they have a business card with their license number, their broker on it, their work address. Hand them that, right? One thing, the biggest thing I will say, we're easy to find. You can simply look us up in a tax record. You can reverse search our phone number, and sometimes your personal address will pop up in there. I'm very careful about my personal address, my personal information, just because of public perception. People believe that realtors make a ton of money, and they're curious about your lifestyle depending on what you post on social media. So I don't post a lot of my personal life on social media other than my dog and my love for tacos, but I won't post about my home. I won't post about cars or anything like that. I won't post any identifying information of where I live other than, the city I live in. Just be careful. There's good people and bad people out there, but, hopefully a business card with your photo and your work address will suffice for them.
Yeah, no, all great tips. We had a couple comments coming in when you were mentioning about the mace. Tracy said a baseball bat, and Lisa Jacobs asked about tasers.
Yes. So there's different types of tasers, and I actually bring a couple samples to class. And so the most common sample is what you'll see sold in stores, and they're anywhere from $10 to $100. It's a handheld taser. It's about the size of maybe. Let's see if I can get this in a calculator here. And you have to hold it, you have to squeeze the trigger, and you have to make body contact with somebody. So it'd be holding it against their body to make contact. Now, your goal in a situation is to get away from a criminal. Running up to them and making body contact is the opposite of what I want you to do. I want you to flee and get away the best you can. And so, the tasers where you have to make body contact, that's the worst one. There's actually a taser by the brand Taser, which is what law enforcement uses. It's like a handgun. It's a CO2 propelled taser. You pull the trigger, and it deploys deploys two wire tasers. And one has a single shot and another one has a double shot. So if you miss twice, you're out of luck. But on that laser device, it has a laser pointer, so you know exactly what you're going to hit. The person that you're pointing it at knows exactly where it's going to hit them. It even has a buzzer. It has a warning buzzer that you squeeze, and you'll hear the taser buzzing, letting that person know you're about to be tased. So that's the best one. I believe they're about $400 to $600, depending if you get the single or double shot version. If you carry a taser, it's non-lethal. That would be the one I'd recommend to get.
Yeah. Okay, great. So Osmond said thank you for answering all his questions. And Rhonda Whitworth said, I just set up the Forewarn app, tested it with my phone number. This is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today before we close up?
Sure. We talked about tasers. There's also pepper spray. I mentioned kind of the handheld spray. There's also a product made by Byrna, Byrna, and it is actually a pepper ball gun. It looks just like a handgun, and it's CO2 propelled. It deploys pepper spray balls. So they'll fly across the room, hit your attacker, and disperse on your attacker. It's another great non-lethal option for those who just aren't comfortable with the handgun. I know there's different comfort levels out there, right? And for those who aren't comfortable with that handgun or are concerned about liability or are concerned about long-term effects, a Byrna pepper spray pepper ball gun is a great option. They even make a shotgun model for law enforcement for riot control as well, and it's a very popular product. It's one of the top selling non-lethal products out there. It's available at Academy, local sporting goods stores.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all of those tips and joining us today. I know our members really appreciated all your insight. And so just as a reminder, next week we have HR Engage co-chair Kelly Scanlon and Larry Brooks to tell you everything you need to know about HR Engage conference. And thanks again, Mike, for all the great information. And thank you for watching. We will see you next week.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.